From Studio 3B in New York, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening. How many times has it happened to you? You're just sitting down to eat, or maybe you've just put the kids to bed, and the phone rings. It's someone selling something. Telemarketing, they call it. You call it one of life's major annoyances. Well, tonight we have the answer to your prayers, a way to stop those dialing fingers dead in their tracks. And it won't cost you a penny. In fact, you may have some money coming. Here's Lynn Cannon.
Back in 1876, an old boy named Bell invented a contraption that we know so well.
It might sound like a country western tune, but make no mistake, Lorraine and Bob Arkow are singing the blues.
Now it's the 1990s, everybody has a phone, and a million telemarketers won't leave us alone.
The telemarketing
They'll call
blues.
you in the middle of everything you do, while you're eating, while you're sleeping, and other things too. So
Pollution is what it is. It's phone pollution.
It reduces your bill anywhere from...
Call it pollution, call it America's pet peeve, call it what you will. But if you're calling to sell anything, you better not call the Arkows.
I've had it. I'm mad as hell and I can't take it anymore. I got to do something about this.
Bob Arkow works for the California Highway Patrol and is mad as hell because of all the calls he gets at home trying to sell him everything from insurance to newspapers. But Arkow is fighting back.
Now, do you guys call people who don't want to be called?
You do? Oh, okay.
When a major bank called one evening offering credit card protection, he decided to give the company a taste of its own medicine and called right back.
I said, hi, this is Bob Arkow. I'm selling my Commodore 64 computer. Would you be interested? The woman says, no. And I said, okay, well, thank you very much for your time. And I hit redial, and I did it again and again. And finally, they gave me a supervisor, and he says, what are you doing? And I said, I'm trying to sell my computer. I'm telemarketing. Does it bother you? And he said, well, yeah, I'm trying to run a business here.
So tell me why can't I get rid of you? Why can't I get rid of you?
Telemarketers make over 100 million calls a week, which generates sales of $280 billion a year. But one survey shows Bob Arkow is not alone. It found 7 out of 10 Americans consider telemarketing an invasion of privacy. And there's something you probably don't know. There is a way for all of us to fight back. It's a little-known federal law called the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, the TCPA. The law says you can tell a company never to call you again, and if they keep calling after that, they must pay a $500 penalty for each call. And who gets the money? You do.
A lot of people, I'm sure, don't even know about this law.
Connie Sevchek is one of the few people who have tested the law in court.
Have you received a copy of the Hillsborough Beacon this week yet?
Sevchek asked a local New Jersey newspaper to stop telemarketing her, and she thought they would. But the calls kept coming, 6 in a 9-month period.
Telemarketers are the electronic equivalent of the salesman who sticks his foot in your door. They think just because you have to answer the phone in your own home that they are then free to just give you their spiel. I resent that. I very much resent it.
She had more reason than most to be resentful. At the time the newspaper was calling, her husband was terminally ill in the hospital. With each phone call, her heart would stop.
So, of course, every time the phone rang, you know, I thought it was bad news because he was on a life support system.
Finally, Sevchek gave the newspaper an ultimatum.
If you give me one more chance, I would ask for one more reprieve.
I will give you that one more chance, but if it ever happens again, I will see you in court. It's your last chance, and don't blow it.
Okay.
Goodbye.
But the paper did blow it, and 3 weeks later called back again. So this New Jersey grandmother, acting as her own attorney, filed suit under the TCPA.
I think they thought, here's this little nobody, you know, will just come in here looking important and scare her off. But I didn't scare off. How do you explain the fact that your do not call list failed not once, not twice, but 5 times after I complained? 5 times.
I really can't explain it. It's, as I said, it's inexplicable.
Okay, next question.
Okay. No more questions, Your Honor.
I find there was a violation on...
It took her 3 trips to court and 11 months, but Sevchek finally won.
And accordingly, I am going to fine them $500 for each time for a total of $2,000.
David slaying Goliath? No, that didn't occur to me. It was just me and this jerky newspaper, a housewife, and they had a certified civil trial attorney. That in itself is gratifying. I hope I don't sound too much like I'm gloating.
Well, thank you. Okay.
From your own local newspaper to just about every Fortune 500 company, American businesses are using the telephone to sell you something. But if you're an aggravated consumer, it's up to you to enforce the law.
You are going to play with them as a cat plays with a mouse.
And Bob Bullmash has made fighting telemarketers his life's work. He runs a watchdog group called Private Citizen, coaching members how to fight back. He told Connie Sevchik how to win in court, and Bob Arkow how to beat the telemarketers at their own game.
I'd like to talk to your telemarketing department, please.
Their free speech is secondary to my right to be left alone.
You know the little guy is going to whoop the big guy. And that's what this is. It's not me. We, this whole country, we cannot lose. They're not bigger than reason and law.
Clearly, it is a treasured medium to do business by.
Robert Sherman is a spokesman for the telemarketing industry.
Everybody that I've talked to about this story, the first thing out of their mouths is, oh, I knew about those people. They call me at dinner time. They interrupt. I don't feel like being bothered. What do you say to those people?
Well, I think it's far better to put up with one of life's little annoyances than to have laws and rules and regulations that literally inhibit commercial free speech.
The Telephone Consumer Protection Act doesn't regulate calls from nonprofit groups, charities, or opinion surveys. But if a company wants to sell you something, the TCPA says it can only call between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m., and it also has to have its own written do not call policy available upon demand.
Are you convinced that companies do follow the guidelines of the Telephone Consumer Protection Act?
I believe they do, yes.
You believe that they keep a do not call list?
I believe they do, that's right.
Do you believe that they provide a do not call policy on demand as is required in the law?
I have no reason to believe they don't. That's right.
But when Dateline called 30 of the largest telemarketers in the country...
Yes, sir. This is Len Cannon with NBC News. I'm calling to request a copy of your do not call policy.
Only 7 of those companies actually sent us a copy of their written policy.
Do you know what I'm referring to? And you're not familiar with the do not call policy. Do you know what that is? Your policy. Your do not... You don't know what I'm talking about. All right, I'll give that number a call in. This is the number I was given. You're going to transfer me to consumers. I just spoke to customer service, and they said I should talk to customer relations. What are you going to transfer me to? Your policy is strictly for internal use. You will not give it to us? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of makes you understand why Bob Arkow is so frustrated with some of these companies. And Arkow is still out there, still after the telemarketers. He even took a day off to snoop around a telemarketing convention. We followed with our undercover camera.
Oh, really? Can I ask you a question?
To Arkow, matching wits with telemarketers is a game where he threatens legal action and the companies pay up.
We interrupt about 250,000 dinners a night.
Really?
And by his count, the score is Bob Arkow 10, telemarketers zip.
And I could be making thousands of phone calls an hour in 10 minutes. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you very much.
The companies he's challenged have either paid a fine or settled out of court.
Pretty good.
Sprint gave him $350 of free phone calls. Time Warner offered $500 of free cable TV. And GE, which owns NBC, coughed up $1,000 in cash. The companies don't admit to breaking the law. One called Arkow an extortion artist. So far, he's collected more than $6,000 in cash and free service. But he says he's not doing it for the money.
This is a I'm teaching you a lesson thing. And that's really what it boils down to.
If a telemarketer calls someone and you don't want to be bothered, what do you say to that telemarketer?
I want you to put me on your do not call list. I want your name. I want you to send me a letter saying you've put me on your do not call list, and I want a copy of your do not call policy. If 10% of the people who get telemarketed would tell them, give me a copy of your do not call policy, it would grind the industry to a halt.
So tell me why? Why can't I get rid of you? Why can't I get rid of you?
It depends on how annoyed you are. I think it's worth it because if you don't challenge them, they aren't going to go away.
They'll keep calling.
They'll keep calling.
Now tell me, darling, honey, do I have to sue to stop getting all of these calls from you?
Bye-bye now.
Conventional telemarketers aren't the only ones you can say goodbye to using the TCPA. The law also covers high-tech telemarketers. So if you get a pre-recorded solicitation or if your fax machine is tied up with a sales pitch, each violation could be worth $500 in small claims court.